Welcome back to Dusk Chapters. Dim the lights, settle in, and let the day fall away. Tonight's story is an old tale, one that has been carried gently from evening to evening for longer than anyone can remember. The story of Mother Holle and the deep, quiet world that waits at the bottom of a well. Let your shoulders soften into the pillow now. Let your breath grow long and slow. And listen. Once, in a small house at the edge of a village, there lived a widow who had two daughters. One of them was her own true daughter, and this girl was pretty to look at, though she was fond of doing nothing at all, and would let whole afternoons drift by like clouds without lifting a finger. The other daughter was not her own by blood, but a stepdaughter, and this girl was good and gentle and industrious, the kind of girl who could not sit still while there was spinning to be done or a hearth to be swept. But because she was not the widow's own child, she was given all the hard work of the house, while her stepsister was allowed to rest. Every day, without fail, the industrious girl was sent to sit beside the well that stood just outside the garden gate, and there she would spin flax in a thread, hour after hour, until her poor fingers grew sore, and sometimes until a little drop of blood welled up at her fingertip. And when this happened, she did what any careful girl would do. She leaned toward the well to rinse the spindle clean in its cool water, so that her spinning would not be spoiled. Now, on this particular evening, for it is always evening in stories like this one, that soft hour when the light turns gold and the air grows still, the girl leaned a little too far. The spindle slipped from her fingers, and down it went, down into the dark, round mouth of the well, disappearing without so much as a splash that she could hear. She began to cry, of course, for she loved that spindle and did not know how she would explain its loss. She ran home, her feet light and frightened on the path, and told her stepmother what had happened. But her stepmother only looked at her with a face like a closed door and said that since she had dropped the spindle in, she must be the one to fetch it out again. So the girl went back to the well, and because there seemed to be nothing else to do, and because some part of her, some brave, curious part, wanted only to see the spindle safe in her hand once more, she climbed up onto the low stone rim, took a breath, and let herself drop down into the well. Down and down she went, but instead of falling into cold water as she had feared, she felt herself drifting softly, the way a leaf drifts down through still autumn air, turning slowly, unhurried, as if the well itself had decided to be gentle with her. And when at last her feet touched ground, she found herself not at the bottom of a well at all, but standing in the middle of the most beautiful meadow she had ever seen, one washed all over in warm, buttery sunlight, with wildflowers nodding on every side and a soft wind moving through the long grass like a hand smoothing a blanket. She walked on, in no particular hurry, for there was nowhere in this new place that seemed to need hurrying to. Before long, she came upon a baker's oven, and the oven was full of loaves of bread, and the bread called out to her in a small, warm voice, saying, "Oh, take us out, or we shall burn, for we have been baked long enough already." So, gladly, she took up the baker's long wooden paddle, and one by one she drew the loaves out into the cool air, setting each one down as gently as if it were a sleeping child, until every last loaf sat safe and golden and unburnt. She walked on a little further and came to an apple tree, heavy and full, its branches bowed low beneath the round red fruit. And the tree called to her too, saying, "Oh, shake me, for my apples are all ripe and ready." So she went to the tree and shook its branches, softly at first, and the apples came tumbling down, one and then another, and then a whole soft shower of them, rolling gently into a pile at the foot of the tree, until every apple had fallen and the tree stood light and easy above her, its work done. At last, walking still further through this warm and drowsy country, she came to a little house, and in the doorway of the house sat an old woman. Now this old woman had a face that was kind, though unusual to look at, weathered like an old apple, and eyes that seemed to have seen a very great many years pass gently by. And because her teeth were large, the girl felt a small flutter of fright at first, the way we sometimes do at the sight of anything unfamiliar. But it passed almost as soon as it came, for there was such warmth in the old woman's voice that the fright simply melted away like morning frost in sunlight. This was Mother Holle, and she said to the girl, "Do not be afraid, little one. If you will stay with me and do the housework properly, all will go very well for you. Only you must take care to make my bed nicely and shake it well until the feathers fly. For when the feathers fly up into the sky, that is when it snows up there in the world you came from." I'm Mother Holle. The girl, who was used to hard work and did not shrink from it, said that she would gladly stay, and that she would try to do everything to the old woman's liking. And so she did. She shook Mother Holle's feather bed every single day until the feathers rose up around her like a soft white cloud and went drifting up and away. And she cooked, and she swept, and she tended to the little house with the same quiet care she had always given her stepmother's home. And Mother Holle, in turn, was kind to her, kinder by far than her stepmother had ever been. She never spoke a harsh word. She gave the girl good things to eat, roasted meat and boiled meat, and let her rest when she was tired, for a good while the girl was content. But little by little, as the days folded softly one into another, she began to feel something tugging quietly at her heart, a small ache she could not quite name at first. It was homesickness, a longing for the house she had grown up in, even though it had not always been kind to her, a longing for the familiar corners of her own small world, even though this new world was so much gentler than the one she had left. She missed it all the same, the way we sometimes miss even the ordinary, imperfect places we call home. At last, she found the courage to speak of it to Mother Holle. She said that she was thankful, so very thankful, for everything the old woman had given her, but that she felt she must go home now, for she missed her own people and her own small life above, even with all its hardships. Mother Holle listened and smiled, and said that she was glad the girl longed for home, for that was only natural and right, and that because she had served so faithfully and so well, she herself would show her the way back. She took the girl gently by the hand and led her to a great gate. And as the girl passed beneath it, something wonderful happened. A soft shower of gold came raining down all around her, gold that clung to her clothes and her hair and covered her from head to foot, so that when she stepped through to the other side, she shone like a small sun. Mother Holle told her that this gold was hers to keep, a reward for the goodness of her work. And then, before the girl could even think to say goodbye, the great gate closed softly behind her, and there she stood, in the yard of her own home, gold gleaming gently on her from head to foot, exactly as if she had never left. Just then the rooster, perched on the well, saw her and called out in his clear morning voice, "Cock-a-doodle-doo, our golden girl has come home to you." And the girl went inside and told her stepmother and stepsister everything that had happened, every soft detail of that warm meadow below the well, and the gold that clung to her still, glowing faintly in the lamplight. Now, when the stepmother saw all that gold, a great and sudden greed rose up in her, and she decided that her own true daughter, the lazy one, must have the very same fortune. So the next day, she sent this daughter to sit by the well and spin, just as her stepsister had done. And because the lazy girl wanted the gold without wanting the work, She took a thorn and pricked her own finger and dipped her hand into a bramble bush to stain the spindle red, and then threw the spindle down into the well on purpose and jumped in after it herself. And just like her stepsister before her, she drifted down softly and landed in the very same warm meadow with its long grass and its gentle wind. She walked along the same path and came to the very same oven, and the bread called out to her just as it had before, "Oh, take us out, or we shall burn." But the girl only shrugged and walked on, saying she had no wish to dirty her hands with hot bread, and left the loaves to their fate. She came next to the very same apple tree, and the tree called to her too, "Oh, shake me, for my apples are ripe." But she only glanced up and kept walking, saying that an apple might fall and strike her on the head, and she would not risk it. At last she came to Mother Holle's little house, and because she had already heard the whole story from her stepsister, she was not afraid at all of the old woman's large teeth, and she agreed at once to stay and work, thinking only of the gold that surely waited at the end of it. On the very first day, she was careful and diligent, remembering to do as she was told. But it did not take long. No time at all, really, before her old habits crept back in, soft and familiar as an old coat. She left the feather bed unshaken, so that hardly any feathers flew at all. She grew short with Mother Holle, and careless with her chores, and did less and less each day, until Mother Holle, who noticed everything with her calm, patient eyes, grew tired of such half-hearted service. And so, before very long, Mother Holle told the girl that her time in the little house was over, and led her, just as she had led her stepsister, to the great gate. The lazy girl hurried to stand beneath it, already picturing the gold that would soon shower down and cling to her hair and her dress. But what came down instead, as she passed through, was not gold at all, but a great, soft shower of black pitch, dark and heavy, settling over her from head to foot until she was covered entirely. "You have earned exactly what your work deserves," Mother Holle told her, gently and without any anger at all, for even in this her voice remained kind. And then the gate closed, and the girl found herself back in her own yard, coated all over in pitch that would not wash away, no matter how she scrubbed, but stayed with her from that day on, a quiet, lasting reminder of the difference between care and carelessness. And that, dear listener, is the story of Mother Holle, of the well that was really a door, and the meadow that waited below it, warm and slow and endless, where bread asked to be saved and apple trees asked to be free to their fruit, and where an old woman with a kind heart taught that gentleness given freely always finds its way, eventually, softly, back to the one who gave it. Perhaps tonight, as you drift off, you can imagine that same well, and that same warm golden light rising up from somewhere deep below, and that same soft wind moving through long grass that never needs to be anywhere else. Let your eyes rest closed now. Let your breathing slow like feathers settling after they've been shaken loose and drifted at last all the way down to the quiet ground. Good night, dear listener. Sleep well, sleep deeply, and rest easy until the light comes again. Thank you for spending this evening with Dusk Chapters. Come back to us tomorrow night, when the lights go down once more, and another quiet story will be waiting for you.